Welcome to episode 2 of the 888 podcast. I'm Rachel.
I'm Leosa.
And here we are. We're still getting comfortable and learning with this whole process. You guys are learning with us. But thank you for tuning into the second episode. So today we are kind of going to go with the flow a little bit, but we're going to try to stay on the topic of
feminine energy.
Yeah.
Feminine energy.
Being a woman, what it means to be a woman. We might talk a little bit about sex. We might talk a little bit about men.
Also just embodying feminine energy and like also kind of keeping your standards high to stay in your feminine energy, like creating that aura around you.
Absolutely. As we are both on this journey and we're both growing and learning, one thing I know we've both found is that the higher you raise your frequency, the more you have to protect that.
Yes.
So you can't, first of all, when you're a light and you're attracting a lot of good, positive energy, there's going to be a lot of low vibrational people that flock to that because they're 100%. Feeding off of what you're giving.
You're like a pretty flower. But when you see a pretty flower, what do you want to do? You want to pick it. But what happens when you pick the flower? You kill it. It loses its life. Yeah. So.
And the people that are meant for you aren't going to pick you. Not in that sense.
Yes. 100%.
But yeah, they're not here to take your energy and bottle it and put it in a vase and keep it for themselves. Mm-hmm. They are going to fertilize you and water you and watch you grow.
Yes.
So
into a beautiful garden.
I love that. I love that reference. I think that's the perfect analogy for femininity. But yeah, so before we started filming, we kind of touched on the topic of men and the things that we've done and changed in our own lives and our own behavior and the way we talk and the way we interact with men to get the results that we want. And, we're both still single. So, take it with a grain of salt. We're not sitting here. We would love to come to you in a couple episodes or in a couple of years as married women. But
we've seen the progress of
absolutely.
How the energy shift, attracts the frequency you want, but
it changes
also
the way men treat you. It changes the type of people that you attract. Yep.
And the treatment you get, period.
Yes.
And you raise your standards. It shows you that most people really are just trying to waste your time.
Absolutely.
And they're not trying to give you the effort,
that you deserve. And it's funny, actually, when you kind of start doing it, it might feel like at first that you're doing the wrong thing. You're going to lose a lot of people. There's going to be a lot of men that maybe have been in your DMs for years that all of a sudden stop talking to you. And
but wait, I want to
that's a good thing.
I want to interrupt because it's when you're vibrating on a different energy, you're gonna project that outwards. So your vibe is gonna change. So the same people that were attracted to you aren't gonna know how to interact with you.
Yes.
It's gonna be very weird for them. And they're gonna look at you and be like, why is she so different?
You're gonna be intimidating to those people.
Yes, they're not gonna know how to approach you because even if they do approach you, they're gonna know that you're not what they're looking for.
Because they're looking for somebody that's easy to manipulate.
They're not what you're looking for. Yes,
both.
Sorry.
They know that they can't live up to the expectations that you are now demanding out of people. And they know that you are no longer somebody that they can easily manipulate to get the sex and the attention that they want from you.
But they crave it from you because people like lower vibes, like higher vibes. They kind of think you can raise them. But it's not how it works. It actually ends up causing your own destruction.
Yep.
So for example, I don't date men that drink and I don't date men that smoke. My biggest thing is I want a sober relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of men approach me or they DM me and they drink and smoke and I make this very clear on my social media. I kind of put it out there. And to me, it's I'm not going to tolerate that. Mm-hmm. So why even try in a way?
Yep.
But it all comes back to them
they want they want you, and they want what they can't have, and they want what they know they can't have. And again, they want to feed off of your energy.
Yeah.
Going back to like men, and we're still on the topic, but it's interesting actually talking about this. I've been lightly dating, I'm not investing time or energy into it right now, but what I've been doing is I've been trying to shift the way that I would have dated in the past to the way that I want to date now. So here and there, I've gone on a couple dates, or I've hung out with a guy here and there, and specifically one guy that I hung out with in the last couple of months. It was really interesting. We did match on a dating site, and we were talking a little bit, and then eventually like he came over, and we had a really great conversation. I thought, I mean, I was having a great time talking. I like to talk. I'm a yapper, no shame, but I could tell he was like definitely like vibing with what I felt like. But on the topic of the no alcohol, I was talking to him about how like I have worked really hard on my alcoholism. Like I used to have a problem with it, and how I have moved away from that. And I didn't realize this at the time, but he was drunk. Like when we were sitting there, he showed up to my house drunk.
Wow.
And I know this for a fact because when he left, I gave him a hug, and I could smell it on him. And in that moment, after this was after we had this whole conversation, I was like, oh,
this is what this is.
and this man never spoke to me again. Like we have not spoken since that. And honestly, like I didn't in the past, I think I would have taken that really personally, and I would have probably like chased him or tried to match his energy. But it was a really
because you were coming from a place of lack,
yes,
and you're not anymore.
Yep.
Yes.
So it was a really, really interesting experience for me, because for the first time in my life, I left that situation, and afterwards I realized this man knows that he's not on my level, and he's going to fall back. And literally nothing happened when we were talking like that would make him not want to, like we were vibing, we had a good conversation, but he was sitting there in a place where he knew he couldn't like match my energy and be what I want.
And that's why it's like so important to be authentic and really speak your truth, because it filters out people for you.
Yes.
And honestly, when you speak your truth and when you ask the right questions, it makes people like you can vet better. Like people will expose themselves if you know what to ask. If you ask the right questions, people will tell you everything you need to know about them.
Absolutely.
And that's why with like dating, like how I approach it now, I'm very like I dissect people's minds, and I want to know everything. It's almost like an interrogation. I mean, not like hostile or anything, you know, but just like, why did certain things lead up to certain things? And, you know, just I get a little bit deeper. I don't care about vibing and talking about like superficial.
I don't care about talking about going to the club. I don't care about talking about smoking and drinking.
What's your favorite color?
I don't care about who you've dated in the past. Like a little bit,
know,
but I don't want to
like,
hear about your
serious
sex
things.
life.
Like I want to know, like, why did you and your ex break up? Why are you dating? Like, you know, what are you really looking for? What does your lifestyle look like?
Is such a huge question to ask people, and the amount of people that when you ask that question can't clearly answer it. And it's funny because they'll tell you, like, there's people push all the time, oh, you have to know what you want, you have to know what you're looking for. And I used to think that I knew what I wanted, and deep down I did. Like, I knew I wanted certain things, but I wasn't firm on that, and I wasn't clear on that, even like within myself.
Because it's like scary in a way to even voice your opinion, and I mean voice like what you want.
It's when you have attachment issues.
Lack.
Yep.
And that's what I also wanted to talk about. Sorry, just really
quick, you're good.
I don't want to forget. But when it comes to if you find yourself, especially like a woman in general, like woman, like if you're chasing a guy, if you're over explaining yourself, if you're leading, guiding, if you're the one making more effort, you're dating from a place of lack.
Yes.
You're supposed to attract. You're not supposed to chase.
Yes.
And honestly, when you talk to people, you talk to their subconscious mind. So say, for example, you're in a toxic relationship and you're like begging somebody to treat you better. And you're saying like, how could you not feel bad for me? Like, I'm literally begging you to treat me better. Like, why don't you feel bad for me? You're telling their subconscious mind that
you are not worthy of being treated the way
I'm
you
not
want to
even,
be.
I don't even like treat myself good, because look at how I'm
I'm
begging for
allowing, yep,
I'm begging for your what's
attention,
the word?
your love, to be loved correctly, to be loved softly, which is like,
and you're repelling that person from treating you the way you want to be treated, because you're telling their subconscious mind that like, I'm
you're not
literally
worthy
not
of
even
that.
worthy
Yep.
of this, and it's like very unattractive to men.
It is. One thing I have learned, and it's kind of getting trendy and picking up on social media right now, men don't want the pick me. Men do not want a woman that is throwing themselves at them, that is begging to be loved, that's not a challenge for men. Men, that's their whole thing. Provide and conquer, though. They want a woman that is not only a challenge to get, but also not available to everybody. That's the thing.
And a man has to prove his worth. He has to prove that he's able to lead you, provide for you, and protect you. And he has to prove that to you first to earn your service to him. So obviously, when you do find a man worthy to, give yourself to,
he's going to prove that
he's going to prove it to you. He's going to start paying your bills. He's going to make your life easier. Yep. He's going to want to see you in a feminine aura. Like, he's going to want to put you in your feminine energy.
Absolutely.
If a man is putting you in a masculine energy,
he doesn't
like
you.
He
doesn't respect you.
And he doesn't even respect himself.
Yeah.
Because any man that needs a woman
enough
to
just sleep with whoever and have a woman that he's manipulating.
But even a man that needs a woman for financial, to financially help him grow in life is not a man. That man, I truly believe a man that's not able to provide for two should not be dating.
Absolutely.
If you cannot,
if you're not a provider and if you're not willing to do the work, like, this is just such a, like, there are so many men. Oh, what do you bring to the table?
You are
50,
the table,
50.
sir. You're supposed to bring the table. I'm supposed to sit down at the table and
make a dinner, put a meal on the table, put a flower bouquet on the table.
This table is worthy for me to be seated at.
Right.
Like, you're supposed to come with, look what I can do for you. Can you amplify this?
Absolutely.
Can you build from this foundation? But you're supposed to come with the foundation. And when I say building, I don't mean financially. I mean, can you nurture me?
It's so much more than just financial. And like, yes, it is financial. Like, don't get me wrong. Everybody has, men and women, everybody has different ideas of like what they want in life and what the ultimate goal is. Some people want $1 million mansion, couple billion-dollar mansion. And there's people that just want enough for a house, a couple cars, a couple kids. And like, that's okay.
Different, yeah.
And that's totally fine. It doesn't matter. Nobody is saying like you have to want a man that's a billionaire. That's not, if you want that, stand on that. But you don't have to, that's not what we're trying to say. No. It doesn't have to be a man that is the number one, but he has to see the value in you as a person and as a woman. And he has to want to provide safety, whether that's emotional safety and physical, that's the bare minimum. Emotional and physical safety is the bare minimum.
You will never respect a man 100% if he's not providing, protecting, and leading. You will always feel like
you will resent him.
Yes,
there will be
100%. And the thing is, as a man, the material world is masculine. So
100%.
women weren't
intended
to handle the material world. Doesn't mean we can't. Doesn't mean if you want to, sure, but you shouldn't have to. If you're with a man and you don't want to work tomorrow,
you shouldn't have
to go to work. If you want to and be a boss babe and do your own thing, that's a different story. I'm not saying like women shouldn't,
everybody's life is different. There are some women that are doctors, lawyers, and that is what they're passionate about. But at the same time, a man that loves you and values you would make and do anything to make sure that you are happy and that you can
It's
focus on
not
your
a
passions.
50-50 thing.
It's
So
never been a 50-50
I want to
thing.
talk about wounded masculinity
I
because
would love to.
I was having a conversation with a man one time, and this really like changed, like opened up my perspective and made me realize like how deep this really roots. I was talking to a man, and because like I said, I'm very like I interrogate. I get straight to the point. I asked this man, do you want to stay at home mom, or do you want a wife that's in the workforce? You know, how would you want your
What do
wife?
you?
And
Yeah.
this is like with kids and everything. He was like, as much as I like a clean house and food cooked, I can also do that too. So I got a little bit deeper into with him, and I was basically talking about what we're talking about right now. And he said, this is like the main point I'm trying to make. He said, if I'm paying all the bills, my house better be spotless.
No shit.
No. I don't agree with that though, because the thing, I'm not saying as a woman, if a man isn't paying all the bills, you're not gonna keep up with the household.
You're gonna have your down days, yeah.
But it's not about you doing 50% of the work. You're supposed to be like alleviated. So I'm not saying, of course, I'm gonna clean and keep up with the house. But if I don't want to clean one week, because
if I'm on my period, about to have my period,
if I have to just clean for 3 weeks straight, and this week I don't want to clean,
it shouldn't be a problem.
Hire a maid.
It shouldn't be a problem.
You should want your woman in her femininity, innocence. Yep. You want to make her happy. As a man, you're always gonna have the shorter end of the stick.
Yep.
You're always gonna have it harder, and that's just how it's intended to be.
If you have a problem with that, you can be gay. You can date another man. Like,
that's
honestly
accepted
and truly.
nowadays. You know, you can put on a skirt and heels, and it's normalized.
You don't have to like. That's
you don't have to be a man anymore.
That's the thing that like really perplexes me about men that get violently angry about women who don't want want providers. If you don't want to be that, nobody said you had to.
And that's why I don't believe when people are like, oh, I want to be a power couple. Oh, I want to be a team. We are not a team. In what sport do men and women play on the same team?
Facts.
What sport do women and men play on the same team? They don't, because men and women cannot play the same game against each other.
We don't have the same strengths and weaknesses. We are completely different. The only team that there is the family. Like, we are in the same family unit.
The team, but it's not a.
It's losing sight of everything else.
It's a hierarchy.
Yes.
It's a hierarchy. It's God, men, women, and children. And it doesn't mean like men are superior, but at the same time, if you want a man to go and take on the world, he needs to be nurtured. He needs to be,
It's statistically, that's a great point. It's statistically proven too that men make more money, perform better, do better, get more
under
raises
pressure
when they're married.
True.
When they're married.
That's true. But it's
women are literally, and that's not to say these men that are making more money, doing better, getting raises, upping and advancing in life, can't, like, first of all, you need to be able to do those things like at a base level. If you're not doing that right now, you're not going to all of a sudden magically do those things with a woman. But that is the value of having a woman who is home in her feminine, 100% happy. It amplifies
your purpose.
Absolutely.
It inspires you. It makes you want to like become better. And the problem is men are so, and this also goes back to, the way the matrix is set up, and like how they want to feminize men, and
the wounded masculinity.
But just even like the chemicals in our food and our water and everything, it's literally for, like, they have an agenda against men, because the people at the top of the world, like, they're men. Like, men run the world. Men are the ones that are building the roads. Men are the ones that are doing the hard, dirty work. Women don't want to do that. Men are running the world, and honestly,
and the ones at the top want to eliminate as much competition as possible.
So the most competition,
you would too.
Right.
If you were up there, you would too.
If the more you feminize the men, you have no competitors, because now they're acting like bitches, literally. And if a man is designed stronger, faster, taller, on average, more than likely than women for a reason. They're supposed to outperform in every other way as well.
But then there's women, we are our strengths, but that's the thing. Like we have so many strengths. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of men that are going to look at this and they're going to be like, okay, well, if I'm doing this, that, and the third, what do you bring?
But
What do you
that's that
provide?
wounded masculinity, because a
It's a
woman,
completely different
oh,
type of
it's
ball
the
game to what a
inner
woman
work.
wins.
It's
Yep.
the nurturing. It's
It's
the
the loving,
beauty.
it's the caring, it's the happiness.
the
My energy, I know this as a woman and just as a person in general, my energy is infectious. If I smile at somebody that I walk past on the street, they smile back. And you could say, yes, everybody does that. But I know for a fact that if a man smiles at you walking down the street,
Men-
whether you're a man or a woman,
even men
that's
that
going
don't
to feel weird to you.
100%. But even a man that doesn't have access to women, he will pay a woman to have access to her. Whether
Yep.
even if it is just to have sex, that's how much.
That's
a
how
man
much you provide as a
crave-
woman and bring to
but
men.
even how much men crave the presence of women in
Yep.
general, period.
Yep.
Like, there's obviously very low vibrational ways, and then there's higher vibrational ways, which is like marriage is high vibrational, and like obviously like paying a woman for sex would be very low vibrational,
but they still crave us.
They crave the attention. But a lot of men, they have that equality mindset, and that's why I don't believe in the feminist movement, because it's
I agree. The
I
way
think
it's
it's out
going,
of
the way
context,
it's going, that sounds surface level. That sounds a little harsh, but it's true, and I fully agree. Like I am for women having rights. I am for women having the option to do whatever they want, because at the end of the day, forcing somebody into a position isn't going to bring you into your feminine. If somebody doesn't want to be in their feminine,
this trying to overtake
totally kill the make
men.
It seem like nobody wants to be this whole trad wife discussion. Again, if a woman is forced into that, again, she's not going to be vibrating at her highest potential, because she quite literally doesn't want to do this. But if you, at the same time, we're kind of taking steps back, because we're not allowing women who do want to do those things to do those things.
And this is another thing I want to talk about, especially with like more of a boss babe mindset. And this is what the revelation.
I had to unlearn the boss babe mindset.
I had to unlearn the boss babe mindset, but I was just gonna get into it. This is the revelation I had this year, and it made me realize, and like it's honestly 100% true. Masculine men don't want masculine women. As in, like, masculine men don't want women that want to pursue. I'm not saying you can't have your own little thing, but as in, like, your main forefront is your career. Like, that's what you are only, like, because you're amplifying yourself, and you're not going to have the energy to amplify the man.
Yep.
But the problem is a lot of women will say, like, oh, but that's fine. I don't care. I'd rather be a boss man, a boss babe. But the problem with that is
they don't mean it.
When it comes down to picking a man, you're going to be left with the feminine men.
Which some people want that, but it is very true. And I think
you will never respect that man. Whether you think it's a good, you might think it's okay because, he'll let you do whatever he wants and whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. And he's like a yes man at the end of the day. And you have your own financial means to provide for yourself. But you're never going to respect that man on a deep level. You're
not
never
in a masculine, feminine way. The roles are reversed. The roles are literally reversed. The polarity
still exists. It's just
the opposite.
And that's where a lot of people are. A lot of people, because this is the thing I learned.
And again, it's okay to be there if you want to be there, but I know most women don't. Whether they say they do or not, most women do not want that.
Most women don't even know how to submit, and I can honestly tell. I understand that because if you don't have a masculine father and you don't have a father that
providing, caring, loving, that's nurturing you,
or you've never witnessed a masculine role model in your life, you don't even know how to trust a man.
Yep, you have no idea.
It's hard to even like break down those walls, those barriers, because you don't even know how to start. And I totally understand that, but
that's the journey we're on.
That's the journey we're on, but at the same time, it's like you have to understand the truth.
Yep.
Because you can put up those walls and you can be like, oh, well, because that's really what it is. You're creating your own safety net because you've been disappointed by men so many times in your life that you don't trust men anymore. And I get it. I understand. But the truth of the fact is you're not going to be happy without breaking down those walls in the long run.
Yep.
You're not going to really find what you're craving.
And again, there is a lot of different relationship dynamics, and everybody's a little bit differently. And what your relationship and your ideal thing is going to look like. But a lot of women are in their boss babe era because they literally have to
I
be.
used to be super masculine. I
You
used to
have
be
no
like,
choice.
I need to make my own money. And I used to
Yep.
make a lot of money. And it's, don't get me wrong, like ever since I've had my daughter and became a mother, I've taken a huge salary cut to stay home with my daughter. I
It's
can
so
make
important.
so much more money
Yep.
working more. And mind you, I'm a single mother, so I am completely financially every way. And I've taken a huge salary cut to be able to spend more time with my daughter. And honestly, I love it. Honestly, like, yes, of course, the extra money is amazing. But at the same time,
Being a
me
mother
being
is
able
the
to
most
wake
important
up
thing.
every morning with my kid and make
Yep.
breakfast with her and be home with her and go out to the park every single day. We have like a routine and it's so like emotionally fulfilling. It's like I
Yep.
can't wait until I can live this life full time.
100%. And it's funny. I had a coworker recently. We were sitting in the lunchroom together because unfortunately I have to work full time to support what's going on.
Yeah. We're in
And
like the same kind of boat almost.
just a little bit differently.
different, yeah.
And I had a coworker ask me like, about my daughter and my life and like if I wanted more kids. And I absolutely do want more kids, but I absolutely refuse to have more kids in a situation where I have to leave them every single day.
100%.
The biggest like destruction of the boss babe mindset for me was having my daughter because before that you're doing what you do, whatever. But looking at my daughter every morning and walking out the door is the worst thing I've ever experienced in my entire life. And I absolutely refuse to bring more children into this world if I have to do that.
And I'm going to say something a little controversial, and this is going to be a little controversial, but I know a lot of women might think they want to work instead of be home with the kids, and the stay-at-home mom lifestyle is too much. But the only reason why you feel like that, and this is the truth, is because you don't know how to deal with the emotions. Having a kid is harder than working. Being home with a kid is way harder than working.
It's really hard.
Your job might be hard, but you're doing it in peace and quiet. You're at a table. You're doing whatever you need to do. Having a kid is emotionally, it tests you.
You have to do a lot of
inner work.
Yep.
You will be triggered left and right when you're with your kid, and
Yep.
a lot like the
a lot of
screaming,
people
the
don't want to
crying,
do that.
They
Yep.
don't want to work through that. So for them, it's easier to say, no, I
want to go home.
work.
I want time away from
But
my kids.
what's the point of having kids if you're going to put them in a daycare at 1 year old or even younger than that? Because if you have to, that's a different story.
I understand there's a lot of people that are in a situation where they have to do those things, and that's completely different. We're not talking about that, but
a lot of girls are like, I've heard them talk,
telling themselves that's what they want. Telling themselves that's what they want. That's the lie.
You don't want kids, or not that you don't want kids.
You don't want to do the work.
You don't want to do the inner work to get to the root of why you cannot handle. And it's hard. Don't get me wrong. I only have gone through it because even when I did work, I used to work night shifts, so I was home with my daughter regardless. My daughter's never been to daycare or anything, and it was so hard. Like I never realized, like I got to that point where I was like, I want a job. I want to be working because it's literally like it's so emotionally like
overwhelming,
overwhelming, and you're so overstimulated. But as I kept working through it, and now I love it. You learn how to.
I was lucky enough to be in a position where I had a really, and I know this might sound crazy that I'm going to say this was lucky, but I had a horrible, awful mother growing up. We do not speak. We are no contact. That woman hates me. And honestly, what I've learned through a lot of healing is that she hates herself. It's not that she hates me. It's that she hates herself. But that whole experience has been the catalyst for me in my own self-work. I remember being as young as 5th grade, and I knew I wanted to be a mom, and I knew I wanted to have kids one day, and I know a lot of women feel the same way. Not everybody, but I know a lot of women feel the same way. And because I knew I wanted to have kids one day when I was very young, I knew that I had to do the work to not become my mother, because everybody hears that, oh, you're turning into your mother, you're just like your mother. That is the biggest insult to me. Like if somebody compares me to my mom, that is the number one the highest form of disrespect to me that you could ever say to me. And I knew, this is why I say I'm lucky for that experience, because that experience with my mom, excuse me, that experience with my mom, um, is what has forced me to do the work on myself. I knew I wanted to be a mother, and I knew I wanted to be nothing like my own mother. So I'm in a fairly unique situation, where I've been in therapy since I was 10. I am 26 years old. But I got pregnant with my daughter at 24. I had 14 years of therapy under my belt before I had my daughter. So I went into having her already well into a healing journey. And like, even though having her has it's been really healing and really, also, forcing me to do a lot of, I say this all the time, she's simultaneously healing my inner child and also holding a mirror to all the unhealed parts of myself. So I'm not saying I'm perfect, and I'm not saying I had her at a perfect place, because I obviously am a single mother, so I clearly did not do all of the work. But I did enough of the work to know that whenever I felt a negative way, or I wanted to pull away from my daughter as a normal reaction to something not going my way, that was something I needed to work on, and I needed to self-reflect on that, and that it has nothing to do with my daughter or anything that she does, or she's a baby. But because I've done a lot of that work, and I've at least gotten to a place where I'm able to self-reflect whenever I have a negative emotion surrounding my motherhood. Um, I love, I'm at a point where you're at now, where I love being a mother. And I have, I work 5 days a week, but I have 2 days off a week where I have my daughter the whole day. I wake up with her and we just do our thing all day. And I tell everybody that we have this conversation about, those are the best days. Every single day that I'm with my daughter completely 100% and do not have to leave her is the best day of my life. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying being a mom isn't exhausting and won't burn you out, because it is. But I think about what I would do with my time if I didn't have to work 40 hours a week, and what I would do to get breaks for my daughter. And honestly, I think about it now, because I always say, even on my days off, she takes naps. My daughter's 13 months, so she's still very young. And her naps, her hour, 2 hour at the most naps, are all the break I need. That's enough time for me to go take a shower, for me to eat some food, for me to, decompress a little bit. And then I'm ready for her when she wakes up. And if I was home with her every single day, I would not only have the naps, and I know that those go away at a certain point, but I have a gym membership where I can drop her off and they will watch her for up to 2 hours every day. Mm-hmm. And I do not utilize it because I only have a few hours to spend with her after work at the end of the day. And I feel so guilty about going to drop her off at, the gym for even an hour, because it cuts into the very few, little time that I feel that I have with her as is. And I know that if I didn't have to work, I wouldn't feel guilty doing that. I would do more things for myself, because I would have the adequate amount of time with her. I would feel less guilty about calling up her grandparents and saying, do you want to spend an afternoon with her? And then I would, take that time. I love being around her. But
I'm so proud of you, just because I know a little bit about what you went through growing up, and honestly, seeing you be a mom is so she is such a good mother, and she honestly even teaches me a lot, how to handle certain things with kids, and it's amazing. And I just want to tell you that, because you,
I really appreciate that.
You are such a good mom.
It is,
you really are,
literally the most important thing in the world to me, and that is why I refuse to bring more kids into this situation, because it's not perfect.
And this is going to be a little controversial. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I kind of like throwing the triggers out there, because the triggers is what helps you it's what helps you grow.
Everything that you feel triggered by is a call to work on that.
And another thing is, having multiple children when you don't have a two-family unit, and when you don't
selfish
have
and irresponsible.
The financial means, and you don't have the freedom to take care of them on your own time,
it is selfish and irresponsible.
And don't get me wrong. I know everybody's going to say, well, anything could happen. Yes, anything can happen.
Things do happen.
But why would you build it up on that foundation for it not to even exist in the first place?
And this is, obviously neither one of us is perfect. Like, we're both single mothers, but having my daughter was like a smack in the face.
Yeah, 100%. And I wouldn't do it again unless I felt safe and secure emotionally, spiritually, financially, physically.
Yes.
And if that never happens, then
that's okay. I will focus my life and my energy on my one daughter.
Child.
Yes.
Before I go,
I have literal chills because I don't understand how women don't
multiple
kids
and they don't have the financial means, and they're having them with men that are
not taking care of them, not emotionally stable or regulated in themselves, because you are modeling love, and relationships,
I'm saying
everything
this because
for your kids.
I've done it. I'm not saying this as a judging way.
Me too. That's why I left my baby to father.
I've literally we are not
I
had my
perfect.
Daughter very young.
Yep.
I had my daughter at like 20 years old, and I didn't know what I was doing. And honestly, like Rachel said, huge smack in the face, huge wake up call. Yep. My reality shattered. I didn't know what was going on.
Ego death moment is an understatement.
Ego death moment. But that, and mind you, my daughter, she's also special needs. So it was
even harder.
Emotionally, it was like very hard to understand what was going on and how I'm like gonna, like operate through life and understand just how to go about this. And I was all by myself, and it made me realize I would never do this again unless I want more kids. I want to have 3 more kids. I want to have 4 kids. I love kids, but unless I can
provide them the perfect, stable household,
it's not going to happen. And people need to understand that it's not about you anymore. It's about the kids. And if 100%. You can't give them that, then you should not be procreating.
You have no business having more children.
No,
absolutely
and
not.
It's the truth.
I'm currently reading a book. I think I mentioned it in the last episode. It's called The Body Keeps the Score, and it's about it's about trauma. And I'm specifically on the section right now. I'm not even halfway through the book, but I'm in the portion that talks about childhood trauma. And I highly recommend every parent read this, because it's just confirming things that I've already known, because I've done a lot of research on this stuff already, but it very clearly depicts how the first 2 years of your child's life, the first 5 to 6 to 7 years of your child's life, they're until they're literally until they are able to leave and provide for themselves. Everything that you do to that child, every environment you have them in, the way you raise them, the way you speak to them, the way you treat them, is forming their brain, their attachment style, the way their genes express themselves. Like, it's not a fucking game. And I'm really sick and tired of people acting like it is a game, because it's not a fucking game. You are quite literally the catalyst for somebody's entire life. You are literally setting somebody up for the rest of their life. And it is not about you anymore. You continuing to have more children in that situation, you continuing to ignore your problems, you continuing to refuse to do the work, is the most selfish, evil thing that you could ever do. And I don't give a who feels some type of way about that. I'm very passionate about that. Stop having kids when you are not in a position to have kids. Again, I understand that,
life happens.
It happens, and whatever. But we talk about this all the time. Something flipped in my brain when I had my daughter. Something changed in my brain. Out of nowhere, everything became vividly clear. And I'm still growing and learning and expanding on that.
But very blurred. It took me, I'm not gonna lie, the first 2 years of having my daughter were very chaotic, because I was very young. Yep. I didn't understand. And then I was in such a low place in my life, to the point where I was literally contemplating suicide, because that's how low I felt. And this was kind of connects back to the other podcast we had before this, but you are the what did you say? You said everything that happens to you is your fault.
Everything that happens to you is your fault.
Everything, and you have to ditch the victim mindset. And then I started to realize I'm in these circumstances because
of the things that I've done, the
because of the decisions I've made,
yep.
the people I've dealt with. And this
what
is
I allow to happen.
And it all comes down to self-worth.
Yes.
Your self-worth, your mind,
Mm-hmm.
this reality is just a projection of your mind.
Yeah.
So if your reality sucks, it's because you have no self-worth, and or low self-worth, and that's the reality of it. That's the truth.
People don't like to hear that because, again, if it's a trigger, it's a soft spot.
And people, you have to put your ego to the side. You really have to realize that, like, if your life isn't how you want it to be, your system, the way you're going about things is clearly wrong and not working.
Yep.
So why can't you just take the accountability that you're wrong, it's not working, you need to do something different, you need to change, instead of
you need to find another way.
Keeping that blockage there that makes you feel like, oh, well, then I have to realize that, damn, like, am I wrong? Am I really not a great person? And that's really what it comes down to, is like, your life will become better when you become a better person. But being a better person is like healing yourself.
It's hard.
And doing the inner work. And I just want to say that now I love my life. I wake up every morning and I'm happy to live my life. And I'm
even in an unideal situation, I love myself.
The reality I'm creating with, as in, like, I feel so like good inside, and it's because I made those changes. It's because I took the accountability. It's because I ditched the victim mindset. It's because I really said, this isn't working. Let me put my ego to the side and let me figure it out. Let me learn. Let me reprogram my mind. And the reason why you think you do, going back to that book, is because it's just how it was. It's how embedded
you were literally programmed that way.
It was embedded in you.
And that's what I wanted to actually, like, jump in on really quick, is that I know what we're saying is harsh, and I know it's going to trigger a lot of people, and that's okay. Again, like I said, that means you need to do some work in that area. But part of healing is kind of taking a step back and pausing and stopping from running, which we'll get into running.
Oh, wait, let me just add something really quick. Healing is not doing more, it's doing less.
Yes.
It's literally stripping yourself.
Perfectly on, yes.
It's stripping yourself of all the baggage, all the excess weight, all the
bad habits, everything. All your ineffective coping skills. And that's what I'm trying to say. Like, once you stop running, the best way I can describe it, and we'll talk about this a little bit more in another episode, but the best way I can describe it is, it's like you are going 100 miles an hour down a freeway in a 18-wheeler, whatever, truck with full load in the back. And that's what it's like when you're constantly running from your feelings, right? And then all of a sudden, when you decide, this is enough, I'm done, I'm tired of feeling this way, I'm tired of the life I've created, I want to change, you slam on the brakes, full stop. And what happens when you have a load in the back that you're moving forward with, all of that shifts forward, and it hits you like a truck. And that is the reason why most people continue the cycle and continue running.
And let me add something. So when that part comes, when everything just smacks you like that,
hard.
You have to feel the pain.
And that's what I'm trying to get at.
And people run away from the pain. You have to sit through the pain. You have to scream through the pain. You have to cry through the pain.
Feel hurt.
Feel the pain.
You have to feel
your emotions.
You have to feel things to get through them. I say this all the time to people who I have this conversation with. You either feel it now or you feel it later. It doesn't.
You hurt now or you hurt later. Yes. You walk through the fire now or you burn later.
You either do it now or you add it to the load of the truck. And whenever you stop running, it's just going to add to the weight of hitting you. So that's where I want to kind of, reel this in. This isn't coming from a place of not understanding and not being compassionate. I understand how hard it is to stop running, but you need to, at some point, take responsibility for your foot on the gas. You have to take your foot off the gas, and you have to hit the brake, and you have to allow yourself to feel that. And it's not hard, but I hope that, through this podcast and as we grow and you watch us grow too, that we can kind of help guide you through that process, because I promise you, the other side, when you start to unpack,
so amazing.
It's worth all of it.
It's worth every single, all the pain, all the trauma. It's worth it. But
I just
everything has a purpose.
Everything has a purpose. I just want to say really quick before we move on to and maybe wrap things up. When I stopped the bus, when I stopped the truck, I remember there was a good 4-month period where I sat alone in my apartment and I cried and I cried and I cried and I forced myself, like my initial reaction was text my friends, go out, do this. And I forced myself not to do that because that is also a form of running. And I needed to sit with those emotions. And in the moment, it's the worst feeling ever. And it's the worst pain that you're ever going to feel because, again, you're feeling all the pain that you've never allowed yourself to feel. But when I tell you that was the most healing experience of my entire life, and when I finally was done crying, the relief I felt, the weight off of my shoulders, you have to do it. You have to do it to get to the other side. There's no way around it. There's no way over it, under it, to the side. You have to go through it to get through it.
And this is also when I want to connect to that. So even when it comes to like relationships, like everything comes down to frequency and vibration. So at the end of the day, if you are getting out of say you got out of a relationship that was toxic, you are going to keep attracting the same person in this, or the same type of person in a different body until
you change your frequency
and you heal yourself on an inner, deeper level. Because when you're just hot from one person to the next,
you're not doing any work.
You're not
changing anything.
And that's why when you're like, oh, why do these people treat me this way? Why does this happen to me?
Because that's what you allow. That's what you attract.
That's what you're vibrating on.
You attract what you are. You're not going to get the millionaire man because you're not worthy of the millionaire man. You're not going to get the man that values you and sees your worth and wants to do anything to make you happy because you don't see that value in yourself. You can only attract what you are. You can only attract what you project.
Right.
So you have to start with you.
Yeah. And you have to like also like embody that. Like, for example, I've been single, you have to
commit to it,
and celibate for 1.5 years now because when I got out of my previous relationship, I realized this and I was committed to the journey. And I'm like, listen, everything comes down to intention.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to be in a healthy relationship, that has to be your intention with that person. I'm going to be the healthiest version of myself,
so I can attract the healthy man that I want.
Be a healthy partner to somebody else.
So I can be worthy. Because this is the thing. People will sit here and say they want a man who's emotionally regulated, who loves you, who does, who does.
But are you that?
Are you that?
You're
not. You emotionally regulated? Are you intelligent? Are you worthy? Because this is the 50-50 conversation that I think people are really trying to get to, and they're missing the mark. It's not about material things. As a woman, at the very least, I can't speak from a man's perspective, but are you worthy of being provided for? Right. Are you worthy of everything that you want?
Because if you want a man to go out there and 100% deal with that material world,
you can't be causing him problems. You can't be stressing him out.
You better be worthy enough to come home to.
Yep.
And you better be worthy enough for him to go out there and handle that for you.
And everybody has their bad days. But again, like, to be worthy of somebody who's going to love you on your bad days, you have to be good most of the time. Most of the time.
Yes. You can't just think that somebody needs to fix you.
Yep.
You have to come into a relationship, into a union fixed.
Yep.
You do.
That's not, and don't get me wrong.
And that happens in solitude.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. You need to sit through the pain, the trauma. You need to deal with it. You need to transmute it.
Yep.
So when you find, because that's the thing, that the reason why I've been alone for so long, people will ask me like, oh my God, you're like, why are you single? I'm like, because the next person I'm going to be with, I want that to be the last person I want to be with.
Fully agreed.
I hate this whole like
dating this, that, maybe. No, I want to be sure. I want
wishy-washy thing. No, like I know I'm only going to attract that man when I'm at my most healed place. And that doesn't happen in 2-3 months. That doesn't happen in a few weeks. That doesn't happen. No.
With one mindset shift. Because the mindset shift is the catalyst to the change, but the mindset shift is step 1. Step 2 is committing to that in your actions, in your words, in your thoughts, every day, and we
embodying that. Yes,
we will definitely get more into that in other episodes. But you, again, you have to be.
A feminine energy is peaceful. Feminine energy is like radiant. It's
Feminine
magnetic.
energy is something that's worth protecting and providing.
Right, but you
Like,
cannot say you're in your feminine energy or you're a feminine woman
when
and
you're argumentative and you're constantly stressed out, stressing other people out, conflict with people. That's a huge thing. And again, we'll break this down a little bit more. But like, for example, I used to be the kind of person that was constantly fighting with people on social media, constantly getting into comment
always wanting
wars,
to voice your opinion.
Your opinion. I had to realize that, first of all, it's a waste of energy. It's disrupting my peace, and I'm only adding to that. But second of all, like when they say the people who get it, and the people who don't, that is the truth. And you have to be okay with letting people be where they're at. You
Right.
have to just let it, like, you have to choose
One
yourself,
thing
your
I've learned
peace.
is, because I have a mentor, and the one thing like that really like sticks with me is feminine energy is agreeable.
Yeah.
So if you don't agree with something, just move on.
Yep.
You don't have to go and tell somebody.
Not everything's gonna be for you,
Right.
and that's okay.
Like,
and that's the thing.
You don't have to go and argue
you don't
with
have
somebody.
to change everybody. You don't have to make everybody view your point. You don't have to make everything the way you want. Like you said, feminine energy is agreeable. That means you will be comfortable with leaving what is not for you and waiting and moving on to find what is for you. You have to stop fighting what you know you don't want, because it's not projecting you any closer to what you do want. So, I don't know. I think we've talked about a lot. We kind of went.
Yeah, how long are we? Sorry.
52 minutes.
I think this is a good place to end.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm good with that.
We'll definitely get into this more. Definitely leave comments on things that you'd like us to elaborate more on, things that you'd like a little bit more explanation on.
Any subjects you want us to talk about?
There's a lot that we covered, and I think we covered it in a very aggressive way, but it needs to be said and somebody needs to say it. And I know that there's going to be, if there's one person watching this that hears what we're saying and
take something from it, then
we've done what we're here to do. But yeah, let us know. Again, tough love is sometimes the love you need.
Yes.
And it's going to get you to where you want to be. And we love you guys. Have a great rest of your night, day, whatever you're doing. And
thank you for coming on this journey with us.
Yeah, we'll see you next time. That was cute.